when we distort the truth to make us feel better about our choices and our decisions. We distort the truth, oftentimes subconsciously, to make us feel better about our choices. So here's how I want to set this up, is I want you to think about somebody you really admire, somebody who you wish you would be more like, somebody who's consistently good and right. So I've given you 2 words to start off. Somebody that you admire how they do relationships, how they do their life. It could be a living person, it could be someone from history, but I want you to shout out to me some characteristics of this amazing person. Okay, I wrote stable because it's easier to write, but emotional stability, self-control, what else? Okay, courage, honest, patient, servant. Okay, I think I get the gist of it. Imagine that I wrote down like this plus more. Okay, yeah, this is an amazing person. So here's a question I have for you. How many of you are consistently this? Good. If a hand would have popped up, I would have said to your spouse, I'm so sorry. This certainly isn't true of me. But here is what is true of me. I really, really want every single one of you to think this is true about me. And there is the rub, there's the root for self-deception. I really want you to think this is true of me. And that's the bind. And I'll bet you're at a similar spot. Because here's what's reality. Every day, we regularly get prompts to do something that's good and right, to do something that this person certainly would do. Sometimes they're small, bend down and pick out the piece of paper, whatever. Sometimes they're giant. Tell your spouse the whole truth about your inappropriate relationship with that substance or that thing or that person. But whether they're big or small, it happens every single day, and every time it comes, we are left with a choice. Every time. So the choice comes, and then we do it, or we don't do it. Now, when we obey the prompting, when we obey the whisper to behave like this person would behave, it feels good. We feel satisfied. I drove here early this morning, I slowed down, let someone in, and they waved at me, and I think, oh, what a guy. Right? We feel satisfied when we do what this person would do. But sometimes we get the prompting and we don't do what we think this person would do. Now we have a new problem, because now we have to do something that makes us feel justified. We need to tell a different story so we can not do what this person did, but still somehow make it look like we do. And that is self-deception. So to help you get a glimmer of what this is about, I'm going to give you a story from my marriage by showing you a picture of an omnipresent finding in my wife's motor vehicles. Are you ready? I would love to tell you. Okay, new topic.
Go ahead.
So, I didn't handle this really well in the early part of our marriage. I don't know why this would make me so mad. And I would usually communicate that. But there was a day, and I remember the day, it was a while ago, because we still had kids at home. We're empty nesters now, which actually is kind of cool, even though we miss our kids. We had kids at home, and so she was sending me to Home Depot to get more wood, because our ritual is at Mother's Day, we go buy a bunch of vegetables and stuff as a family, and then we help her plant it, or we applaud while she plants it. But before that, she sends me to the store to buy more wood for what is now becoming a garden fortress of stuff. So I'm getting in her van, to go to the Home Depot to get wood for the fortress. I look down and I see this. But this was different this day. I remember it so clear, like it was yesterday, because I got this very clear prompting. Help September, put gas in the car. Put gas in the car. How hard could it be? So I have a choice. Choice number one, put gas in the car. I mean, let's face it, she's not going to do it. I don't know if she has some weird allergy to fossil fuel or some childhood trauma at a filling station, but she's not going to do it. It's not a big deal. Just put gas in the car. Or I could ignore it. Any guess how I did this day? Yeah. I didn't do it. Yeah, thank you. I was already feeling bad. So immediately what happens when this happens, it happens to all of us, and it's before we're even consciously aware, is we start to tell stories that justify why I didn't behave the way this person would have behaved. I tell gas tank stories about her and gas tank stories about me. So the gas tank stories about her look like this. She always does this. She doesn't put gas in my car. She had the car out all day yesterday. She could have put gas in the car. Wait a minute. She left it empty on purpose. Now, there's a theme to all of these self-justifying gas tank stories about September. And here it is. Don't miss it. It's all accusing. Accuse, accuse, accuse. And then I tell self-justifying stories why I didn't do what this person would have done by telling stories about myself. My gas tank is full, and I'm really busy today. And I've already filled her car up like 8 billion times. I don't want to be one of those gas tank enabling husbands, right? So do you notice the theme? A very important theme. Excuse. And so if you're in a dialogue, whether it's internal dialogue or dialogue with your spouse, where you notice what you're doing is accusing your spouse and excusing yourself, I guarantee you, to some extent at least, you are being stricken by self-deception to justify your behavior. Now, that's the sequence how it goes. I'm going along, I get a prompting to do something that's good and right, I've got a choice, I don't make the choice, I tell self-justifying behaviors, I accuse her, I excuse myself. If that was the end of it, that would be bad enough, but it's not the end of it, because it gets worse than that. Because what happens is immediately after I've done this accuse and excuse, I start to think differently about me, I start to think differently about her. It changes how I see. I mean, try this out. I just decided I'm not putting gas in the car. How do I see her? What are the adjectives that are going on in my head? How is she? Selfish.
Yep.
Lazy. Irresponsible. Oh, you guys feel my pain. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, what the heck? And how do I see myself? Responsible, long-suffering. Okay, do you see how warped and sick this is? Less than a minute ago, I got a prompting to do something kind to my wife, something that I am sure this person would do. A minute later, I didn't do it, and she's horrible, and I'm good. Do you see how distorted and destructive self-deception could be? And we do this, and it happens so fast we don't even know. Now, some of you, I know what you're thinking. Okay, we've kind of met your wife, and we got a glimpse of how you are. So we know your wife isn't that way. She's not manipulative and sneaky and selfish. But my spouse is all those things. Here's the thing. Where did September in this process, where did September become so irresponsible that I had to betray the prompting to do something kind? So what I did is I made her worse than she really is, and I made myself better than I really am. So even if your spouse has a problem, and we know because all of us hurt our spouses, what we do when we self-deceive is we make them worse than they are. So they may be bad. You make them worse than they are when you violate the prompting to do something that that person would do. And if that wasn't bad enough, it gets worse because you enter this weird dance with your spouse, the self-deception dance. So here's what happened, of course. I get in the car, and I see the problem. What do I see? So what do? I go home, and I tell her. The car is even emptier.
So then what do? I see the problem, which is him. He's such a jerk. I mean, let's admit it. I didn't say it, but you were all thinking it. So I tell him, why are you so tightly wound? It's just a gas tank. Lighten up.
So what do I see? Proof that she's the problem. She's defensive. Are you kidding me? You can't take responsibility for anything?
And it's not like I don't ever do favors for you. What do you think I was doing all day yesterday that sucked all the gas out of my car?
Oh, this is great. So really, you don't fill up gas in your car, and I'm the problem. This seems really fair.
Oh, that's really nice. Why don't you go ahead and be sarcastic? That's productive.
Does this seem familiar to any of you? So what happens after a few rounds of self-deception is the distorted view that you have of your spouse and you have of yourself is galvanized as true.